Hey guys, Lizardlea here for Christmas 2022 Ornaments. Don't know what else to call it. So last year for 2021 Christmas Ornaments, I split it up into like, oh, these are the Christmas minis, these are the mini stockings, these are these ones. I think I'm just gonna do them all in one video this time because there's what, 15-ish ornaments? Like there's less than 20. So I have 4 different kinds that I'm doing, but I don't want to do 4 different videos, especially like for the bear one. That would be on its own. Whatever. I'm just gonna go work on this now. Wish me luck. Alright, so while David does his stuff over next to me, I'm just going to mention the fact that this video has almost 16 hours of footage in it, and I got it down. Wow, my keyboard looks crazy. Sorry, I got it down to about an hour.
Colors are like cool, man.
It's changing very rapidly. It looks cool from this angle.
Like, say, if it were 16 times as fast.
15. I put it to 15 times. And so,
How did you have 16 hours of footage? Wouldn't this be 2 videos? Because it would be 2 different days.
This is all of the ornaments.
Oh.
I discussed in the... Okay, so if you notice, my intro was a little weird. The intro was originally 5 minutes long. And then I was like, I talk about a lot of stuff that does not matter, has already been stated, and does not need to be repeated. So I edited that down a lot. And one of the things I think I kept in was just that I wanted to keep these all in one video. Because... you know, I'm already well into March, and this is for Christmas Ornaments 2022. So I'm 3 months
2023
late.
Christmas Ornaments right around the corner, folks.
Oh God, kill me.
Okay,
but we are hiring so many new people, and I'm just like, I don't know the names of so many people. That, yeah, it's kind of the point where I might just start doing like, oh, I have spoken to you. You were there when I was handing out Christmas ornaments. I will make one for you. Especially because even this year and previous years, there have been times I've made 1 or 2 and then, well, that person quit or, was let go before I could give them the ornament. And, if they don't live close by, I'm not going to mail this stuff out. And if they didn't reach out to me and say, oh, hey, could you send my ornament to such and such address? Obviously, they don't care that much. So, I'm moving on and giving ornaments to other people. So, yeah.
So I've had the list up, like, since before you started rambling. Do you want to...
Oh, well, I mean, the point of my rambling was just because we have an hour to talk, and I don't know if we're going to be able to fill it with the boys and Glass Onion.
We also have Assault on Precinct 13 and Never Been Kissed.
Okay, well, you said we only had the 2 things, and I forgot about the other things. So
Things
that's on
things.
you.
Good
All right,
stuff.
The Boys, season 3?
Yeah.
It
happened.
It has some scenes.
Yes.
That I would say are. Well, actually, yeah, I would say this season is probably one of the more outlandish. I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Grotesque, over the top, egregious.
Yeah, there's a lot where, like, I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable. Like, it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable. Most gross out stuff doesn't bug me. But there were some scenes where I was still just like, couldn't we have found a better way to do this? Like, there's a guy that can shrink himself, and he gets into another person for reasons, and then what, sneezes?
Yeah.
And he gets big again.
Yeah.
And so, if that alone, if just that bothers you, I'm not going to tell you where he was.
Pretty simple to say that, like, this show is gross by design.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not for anyone who would be bothered by that. And even so I've read a little of the comic, and I just noped out, because I was like, I'm not exactly bothered by this stuff, but at the same time, it was there for shock value. It didn't have any interesting
it wasn't
point.
an actual purpose.
I don't even, like, heck, Castlevania's first episode, there's some stuff in there that I'm like, this is more violent than it needs to be. It just makes it harder for me to recommend the show to people who I know would otherwise like it, because they went over the top here and there. And, like, there's other scenes where it feels a little more fitting to do higher levels of violence, but the comic is just there for shock value. And so I've been generally impressed that the show has managed to be decent. Actually, it's a quite good show. But yes, it still definitely is true to its roots in that it's got a bunch of shock value gross stuff. And it's like, what's the grossest way this could go? So yeah, I wouldn't go into any more detail than that.
Oh yeah, no.
That said, I admit that the show is decent because it took what was kind of just an excuse to have edgy stuff with like one or two clever overarching plot lines, and turn it into something that's genuinely good. Like, just the writing is really good, the characters are really good. Characters who have no business having it. Like, I'm not saying that people are nuanced and that they might be like, oh, well, this person's a bad guy, but they're really like, it's not that simple, but it is interesting to see that even the evil people, like, and objectively evil people in this have motivations or struggles, or it's a lot more effort than I would have expected to go into a show of this when its main draw is, gross shock value, And
one of the things I would say is, what is his name? Homelander?
Yeah.
He is probably within my top 10 villains of all time. Mostly because of the actor.
The actor nails it.
Like, the writing for his character is already really good. Like, he's one of the best characters on the show. But then that actor just brings it over the top for me. Yeah. That, like, when I think of, like, who is a freaking terrifying villain that just I would not want to be in this world because of them, and he's one of the first ones I think of. Like, he's terrifying and amazing.
And he's kind of the character I mainly think of with, like, the nuance where it's like, even still, like, there's no pity about him. Like, to be incredibly clear, he is a lunatic.
He is irredeemable, in my opinion.
Unbelievably so. But at the same time, they do a good job of giving him sort of a backstory that helps you understand how such a monster could be created, because he was essentially like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of the idea of this is the end result of an overly corporate entity trying to make
to manufacture a superhero.
Yeah, and not only is he like practically soulless, but like he's broken because there was a person in there at some point as a child, but they've grown up with infinite power and horribly skewed responsibility and morals and everything else, and it's just this ugly mix of a person, and it's terrifying because that person has it. Actually, it reminds me of Looper and that episode of The Twilight Zone, because that's what Homelander really is he's a child, and that's not in a, oh, well, he shouldn't be held responsible. No, but it's the idea that, like, someone that immature is probably one of the most dangerous things to have power, because that's the plot in Looper, where there's this little kid who can turn you into paste, and that's the plot of that really scary I'm pretty sure it's Twilight Zone episode, where there's a little girl, or is it a little boy, who anything they imagine comes true, and they're using it to hold an entire town hostage, essentially.
Supernatural had an episode.
Yeah, it's a very famous plot point. I swear, I want to say Twilight Zone is where it originated, but I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I looked into it. And Homelander's kind of a weird take on that, where it's like this child that didn't finish growing up. He's just this selfish,
he is absolutely
bratty,
still a child at
lunatic. Yeah, but it's in a gross, disturbing way. Like, you still feel the sort of like, wow, he could have not been this had he not been so screwed up. But, like, it's even more terrifying that he's that way, because he's just gonna... But he's also still a real person. He's not just throwing tantrums and whatnot. Like, it's the weird mixture of, like, a child with an adult. Like, it's very, very well done to be utterly terrifying in a way that I don't even think, to my memory, the comic portrayed, because the comic was kind of trying to toy with that and didn't come anywhere near as close to... It was just the idea of, like, what if Superman was evil? And it's like, well, yeah, even DC has done that. And yeah, it's terrifying, but this was just incredibly well done.
Absolutely. Like, he's just... Every time that actor's on screen, whether it's meant to be an ominous, scene or not, I'm always just low-key, like, nervous, because I'm just like, is he just gonna snap one day and, like... that actor's amazing. He's really good at genuine smiling and fake smiling.
Yeah.
Like, you can always tell when Homelander is just, like, enjoying the moment. And, his childlike aspect is on display.
Yeah.
And then you can tell, like, he is just going along because he's in view of the public.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were in private with him, he would kill you right now.
Yep. And
that actor is just freaking phenomenal.
And I think
like, I want to see him in everything. Because honestly, this is probably a really stupid thing to equate it to, but the only other actor that I can remember or that think of right now where I'm like, I want to see them doing everything is in that show we were just discussing, where
Altered Carbon,
the Hispanic man, when the mom was put in his body, or the grandma, whatever it was, that actor, he was so good at doing different things. I was just like, oh my god, I want to see you in all of the things. That's what Homelander's actor is to me, is just like, I believe every single moment of him on screen.
Yeah.
Like, there was never a time when I was like, ugh, they should have done a reshoot. Like, no, he always nails it.
Yeah. And it's a really...
To the point that sometimes I wonder if he's psychotic. Like,
well, that's
how can you act that so well?
That's a whole other conversation. But
no,
yeah.
I know, I'm teasing.
So either way, he's a big part of the season, but like the show in general does a very good job of giving some nuance and some depth to characters who normally don't have it. They're finally touching on certain plot points that I was kind of waiting for them to get to from the comic, that I'm like, how are they going to handle this? Because it was kind of done in the comic. And I felt like it's been pretty well handled in the show. Again, for the most part, you're dealing with some tricky material, to put it lightly anyways, so it's sort of like, hey, whatever you can do to make this work, good for you. So I definitely feel like, other than, like, even coming back to it again with Homelander, one of the key things that makes the show work is that you can really believe that he could kill anyone in any scene. Like, there's a lot of shows that try to pretend that someone's in danger, and you're like, no, they're not. That person is too important to the plot, or they're in a building where they're not, it makes the whole scene fall flat because the character's not actually, like, in the real world they might be in danger, but in the genre-savvy, meta plot world of this is the main actress, they're not going to die,
Like, the only thing in recent memory where they went against that was the Red Wedding.
Yeah. So
most shows would not have the balls to do that.
Well, it was already in the book, so that's...
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
It's like, George R.R. Martin flipped the script with that one.
Yep, and so
most people don't do that.
That's why I really like just having a bunch of scenes where he's supposed to be menacing, because, he could do literally anything, and you're like, he probably won't kill them, but he might. Mm-hmm. And, it's...
There were definitely a couple scenes where I was fearful for the main characters, because I was like...
Or even supporting characters, Like,
well, I just main characters are the ones where it's like, oh, they're not going to die. They're the main characters. Supporting characters are easier to kill off. If I'm genuinely worried for one of the main characters, that is a villain done right. Like, it would not have surprised me in several scenes if he just decided to laser eyes right through somebody's face. Would not have surprised me.
Yeah. And it's...
Which in itself is surprising. Like, that's how good of a villain they've built him up to be.
Yep. So all that said, it's easy to focus on him. There was some other stuff during the season that I thought was mostly well handled, because they had to kind of do a fairly cliche plot line of like, oh, no, we're going to go do it this way, and then, oh, no, that way didn't work, so now we're going to do it your way, and blah, 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 blah. But they made certain people, like, again, I'm trying not to spoil everything, but there are certain plot points they have to be working towards that I feel like they're earning very well, which the comic didn't Well, again, I dropped the comic halfway through and just spoiled the rest and was like, yep, okay. And it's been kind of impressive to see how they get there. So, I don't know. I definitely want to watch the next season. Obviously, as always, like, would highly, highly, highly not recommend to anyone who is remotely bothered by over-the-top grossness, violence, or anything like that, because it revels in it for sure. And it would bluntly be a better show many times if it just wouldn't do that, because sometimes it's just there for the grossness. There's a few scenes, like the very first death in the show.
Was that A-Train?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That one, the brutality, I think, serves a narrative purpose of just, like...
And it continues on.
Yeah.
Like, there is a point to that death.
Yes. But yeah, a large majority of them... Well, maybe not a large majority. They do about a 50-50 split of, like, okay, that was kind of gross, but at least it sort of serves the point of, like, yeah, isn't this horrifying? Versus just, like, ha-ha, this is gross. Mm-hmm. But, you know... Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of if there's anything else I could say about the season. Probably not, because it'd either be getting into, like, nitty-gritty plot points, which I don't feel like doing, and it'd also just be more than I feel like talking about it. Like, I feel like we've covered the majority of it. Like, again, it's not just the guy playing Homelander who's doing really good performances. Like, there's a lot of, like, difficult moments to portray that I think the actors are doing a great job with. You know, like, them struggling with conflicts and whatnot, and making those conflicts believable is a huge, huge part of this, because there's a whole lot of, like, wow, this, like, the main, I guess, draw of the show is, like, wow, this world sucks, and it's not easy to fix.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, there's no simple answer, and even the, like, go-all-out answers are gonna get you killed. Like, so, yeah, I don't know, you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know I discussed Homelander a lot, but literally all of the actors on the show are spectacular. Like, I can't think of anybody where I was like, oh man, they should have hired somebody else. That person didn't go all the way. Like, I feel like everybody so far has been spectacular. And I did want to mention, Jensen Ackles is in the 3rd season. He is, Dean Winchester in Supernatural. There we go.
Oh, that's right! I forgot that.
Uh-huh. And he's a very different character here. So if you like Jensen Ackles, and you're not bothered by the other stuff, definitely worth watching, because he was really good in it. Homelander's a standout for me. Like, oh my god. Like, I get chills just... If I was in that world... Ugh. Like, it kind of makes me think of Steelheart by... What's that, Brandon Sanderson?
Yes.
Yeah. And Steelheart was essentially, like, Superman and... Omniscient isn't the word I'm looking for. All-powerful. Omnipotent. There we go. And... I mean, I would definitely have to pick Steelheart over The Boys. Or Reckoners, that's what the series is called.
Well, yeah,
right?
but the first book is Steelheart, yes.
Okay. So good. I don't remember where I was going with that.
I don't know where you were going with that. We are now stuck here forever.
I was just trying to think of, like, other times when there's, like, a Superman bad guy. And it's handled really well. Because, like, honestly, in DC, just making Superman the bad guy, it's kind of like, how do you win in this scenario?
I mean, there's been a couple
Can they handle that well? I don't know.
There's been 2 or 3 good plots about what if Superman was the bad guy / what if they had to fight Superman, and it works out okay.
Well, isn't it always just, Batman has all the stuff ready to go? And I hate that. I hate that.
Not always. It's a weird mix of, like, kryptonite denying sunlight, because he's technically solar powered, magic, and a few other... It depends. I mean, as good as a concept as Superman finally snaps is, it's actually usually been meh.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, we always talk about what if Superman were evil, but when they actually make Superman evil, I find it disappointing how it's handled. But, like, Invincible,
yes,
that was amazing.
Yes.
The Boys, that was amazing.
Yeah.
The Reckoners, that was amazing. So the idea of Superman being evil, love it. Execution of actual Superman going evil, I find disappointing. I like other Superman types going evil more.
Yeah, so I think that's more than enough on the boys, probably.
Yeah.
We can move on to my favorite now.
Glass Onion.
Glass Onion.
Okay, so did we discuss Knives Out? Was I still cross-stitching? Or was I cross-stitching when it came out?
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Nice. So I freaking loved that movie. I've watched it at least twice since then. And it still holds up. I still think it's amazing. I loved everything about that movie. So when I saw there was a sequel, I was freaking out. I was so excited. And then there were lukewarm reviews. Not great reviews.
For Glass Onion or
for Glass Onion?
Well, they were, I would call them polarizing reviews. Because some people, okay, I didn't look at like official review sites. I don't bother with that because to me it's just marketing. So
I mean, like Friends and Family.
Yeah, Friends and Family.
It was either. I did not get a great response.
I heard from some people it was bad, and I heard from some people it was the best thing ever. And
wait,
yeah,
some people thought it was the best thing ever. Were there people that liked it more than Knives Out?
Yes.
Oh, they're wrong, and they disgust me. I'm sorry if you actually liked Glass Onion more. That's your opinion.
Yeah. So.
Okay. There were aspects of the movie that were great. If you edit just a few things, you can make it a great movie. But as is, it's not.
You can't make it a great movie. You can make it a good to okay movie. You can't make it a great movie. Not without editing too much.
Okay, do we want to do a little spiel and then go into spoilers?
The spiel is it's another mystery movie. Here's the spoiler version. So,
it's a rich guy on an island inviting all of his friends to see him.
And then someone
and he's supposed to be doing a murder mystery.
Yeah, he's supposed to be doing a murder mystery, but then someone winds up dead, and now they're all on the island. But not even that... Oh, God. Okay. So, let's start with... let me preface this with... I am a fan of the mystery genre, despite having not actually read or seen a ton of mysteries. I've just really, really enjoyed those that I have read or seen. Mm-hmm. And I've always found them to be really interesting, and I know they are full of bad decisions, lots of poor writing, lots of stupid mistakes, lots of there was no way you could guess this. There's a whole bunch of flaws, but I've luckily been exposed to some of the better mystery things out there. And I really liked Knives Out because it was just a solid mystery story. There's a lot of people talking about the social commentary of blah, blah. I didn't care about any of that. It was just a good story. And likewise, there's a lot of people complaining about the social commentary of Glass Onion, and I don't care about any of that. I think from a pacing perspective, it was over-focused on, and it was like, yes, these people are jerks, we get it.
Yeah.
We've now spent first of all, sin number one, the movie is too long.
Absolutely.
They could have cut at least 10 to 30 minutes from that movie. A lot of it, unenjoyable scenes of the horrible people, well, not even horrible people, the...
Annoying people.
Yeah, the annoying people being annoying people. So, it's like, we get it, they suck, move on.
They're rich. They're utilizing their rich friends' assets.
Well, no, some of them are... Well, no, none of them... Well, that's a whole other thing. So... Either way, that's part number one.
Yes.
Part number two for me is there are certain cliches that you have to justify very, very well in a mystery movie. Or book or whatever. So there's a certain line that you need to decide early on in the story as a writer or author, in my opinion, as a random consumer of this content, of whether or not you're going to play fair. So is this something where you're going to look back at it later, or where someone who's clever and genre savvy or whatever you can figure it out? Can you figure out the mystery before they tell you the answer? Some books, some stories do that, some don't. And both can be good. It just depends on how you execute. I believe Knives Out, you could have gotten, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think you could have gotten the mystery before you before they spoiled it for you, basically, before they told you what had happened. Like, you could figure out what was going on and what had happened. It was pretty straightforward with its reveals and whatnot. And even still, if it wasn't, it did it in a way that I didn't mind that. Again, you can choose to not play fair and just be like, nope, you're not going to guess this mystery, and you can still make a good story, but you have to do it in a certain way. Glass Onion cheats, and cheats poorly.
Yeah.
So... Excuse me. I had to get a drink there, because I'm going to continue ranting.
I had to take my pills, so...
So... I want to just figure out how I want to phrase this. This is going to be the longest I've probably ever talked on this channel. Because I feel very strongly about this, and I'm going to link it back to other things.
I mean, do you want to
No.
go through all of the problems? Or?
I'm doing that. I'm trying to figure out how.
Oh,
so, okay. The characters aren't likable. They spend too much time on them. That's part one. I want to know if I'm going to... Yeah, let's just jump to the first problem. This is where the spoilers really start, by the way. At this point, if you still want to see Glass Onion, I guess go ahead. Or if you haven't seen it, if you like Knives Out, maybe you'll like it more than me. So there's my quick review. Anyways, they pull the twin card. And the twin card is kind of infamous in mysteries of being like the cheapest way to ruin a mystery.
Yeah.
Because, they have a twin. Not only a twin, an identical twin. How convenient. That's how we explain that they saw them in the atrium and the conservatory. But not only do they play the twin card, they make it impossible for you to know that they're playing the twin card. It's not they were in the conservatory and the atrium. I don't know how that could have happened unless they're twins, and then that still would be weak. But this is just straight up, there's no way you can know there's a twin until they tell you there's a twin.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know... Well, okay, I will maybe... Oh, God. Maybe you could have landed on it. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh here just on mannerisms. But
you didn't know her.
Well, no, because when we first... Well, even her... She smashes the box. Ah, God. Anyways, I'm just trying to be charitable here rather than rageful, so I'm trying to think of, am I really right about this? Maybe there's some small way due to certain mannerisms in the one scene you get with the character acting like themselves instead of trying to impersonate their twin, you could pick something up, but I doubt it. So, they straight up pull the twin card, and I don't think it's justified. I get why they had to do it to make this story work, but I feel like if you were at the point where it's like, well, the only way we can get this to work is to have a twin, they should have written it differently. Because I'm not sure that character needed to be there, and I'm not sure that character needed to be a twin so much as just more... Never mind, that's writing stuff. Anyways.
I don't know, a big part of the twin thing that annoyed me was apparently everybody knew she had a twin, and they just forgot about her. That's not how that works. I've been friends with twins before where I'm closer to one than the other. You don't forget that a twin is a twin.
So that's something I was going to get into, which is the idiot ball. If you've ever watched a show where wow, this character's really smart, and then for plot purposes, they suddenly do something incredibly stupid because otherwise the plot doesn't work because they would end right there because the smart person would do the smart thing. I call that holding the idiot ball. I think I stole that from the internet somewhere, maybe TV tropes. But yeah, either way, there's a whole lot of idiot ball in this game where people have to be holding the idiot ball for any of this to work. The next biggest problem, not even in order, just in the order they appear in the movie, is... Okay, so I will explain the clever thing this movie does and completely spoil it from here. So again, if you want to watch it, watch it. The movie's sort of clever plot is that it's almost a reverse mystery. Despite all this weird, clever stuff going on related to Daniel Craig, they kind of lampshade the fact repeatedly that he's bad at stupid things. He's terrible at Clue. He's bad at Among Us. He doesn't understand how to, play what he thinks are stupid games. And so the big point is that Glass Onion is an object where it looks complicated, but it's really simple on the inside. And so you might be going, oh, I see how that relates. But for whatever reason, they tell you that definition. So I thought we'd spoiled the movie a bit when we looked up the definition of Glass Onion before it started, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to know not to overthink this because that's basically what that's telling you. But he gives that definition halfway through the movie before certain events are made known / before certain events occur. So already it's telling you don't overthink this. And so you basically arrive at what the obvious... Well, you may basically arrive at what the obvious conclusion is to certain mysteries as they're brought up, because you'll go, well, the title's Glass Onion, so the most obvious thing would be this, so it must be this, so why are we doing the rest of this? And the big, air quotes, twist is that the detective is overthinking it. He's sitting here dealing with some billionaire who he's thinking, well, he's not going to do the dumb thing. And the answer is no, he did the dumb thing. He did exactly the dumb thing. It's the dumbest thing you can think of. It's probably what you immediately assumed. And that's kind of an interesting idea. And that's where I feel like if you edited it, you could make an okay movie. I still don't think with what you've got you could make a good movie. But that narrative arc could make a good movie if it were handled better. And if you cut all the stupid stuff that happens, yeah, that's kind of a neat idea of, like, him not really understanding that, like, nope, I'm overthinking this. I'm dealing with morons. And again, ignoring all the social commentary stuff that all the people on Twitter are yelling about on both sides. Don't care about any of that. But just the idea that, no, the villain's an idiot and Sherlock here has overthought it is a cool concept. However, I take major issue with the fact that, first of all, you don't even know what the main mystery is, because the real mystery he's trying to solve isn't given to you in any way, shape, or form until halfway through the movie. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you've seen a lot of scenes, and then you get to see the scenes again, this time with someone else there. There was no indication they were there. There was no, like, oh, wait, is somebody watching around in the background? It was just, see it again, now with more context with what you know, because now you know about this twin. Because at one point during the movie, basically all these rich people are invited to an island, and one of these people who's invited is part of the original friend group who has been ostracized for reasons that become apparent later. Basically, they all lied and said that she stole her idea from someone else, or that someone else had this idea and she was claiming credit for it when she was the one who came up with it, and now they're all rich and she's not. And so she shows up on the island, and they're like, oh, we're glad you made it, hopefully we can put stuff behind you. Kind of, sort of, it's more nuanced. Well, yeah. It's more complicated than that. And she's being a jerk to them, and they're being a jerk to her, and you basically find out that, yeah, she deserves to be a jerk to them, except you find out, no, she's dead. That's her identical twin. There's the twin drop. And further, the identical twin came to our detective at the beginning and said, hey, my sister has been murdered. I got this box that was meant for her. I found it at her house, and I broke it open with a hammer, and it's an invite to his island, and I bet it was him who murdered her because of this email relating to the court case, which none of that detail really matters here. I want you to find out who murdered my sister and prove it, because you're the great detective. You're enlisting Sherlock here. I don't love how this was done in a zillion different ways, but the part that really bothers me is our Sherlock detective here sits down and goes, okay, I've got a plan. Only the murderer knows that she's dead. The rest don't know yet because we're putting a hold on the information. And it's supposed to be a suicide. That was the other thing, is it's been framed as a suicide, not a murder. So we're going to dress you up like her and make you, and she's nothing like her sister. Her sister was this powerful, confident woman, and she's like a small teacher who still has her southern accent. And so, she does a complete, which to her credit, the actress did a great job.
Oh, absolutely.
I will say that, for all the crud I could be throwing here, I could at least, the actress nailed it. I could believe 100%. That those were two different people, and she did a great job of flipping between the two when she needed to. So, kudos to her. Stuck the landing. But
acting super, super differently when drunk was super weird, though.
I don't think that was her fault. I think it was just bad writing.
No. I wasn't saying against the actress. I was saying for the character. Mm-hmm. Like, that was a choice where I was like, really?
Well, they needed that choice to justify necessary? No, because it's all one. So, I'm going to say it right now. This whole thing feels like a writing train wreck, where it's just, well, how do we justify this? Well, what if they act stupid here? Well, how do we justify that? Well, what if they act stupid here? Yeah. Well, how do we justify that? What if they act stupid here? And it's just... So the dumbest thing that the detective does is he goes, okay, we're going to dress you up like your sister and send you to an island where the man who murdered her is.
Or a woman.
Right. Although it could have been a woman too. Yeah. So they they immediately call out how dangerous this is. Like, this, and he's not... It really bothers me he even suggests this, but I was kind of like, okay, we're in movie logic land, or mystery book logic land. We're going to ignore that this is a morally abhorrent suggestion because he is putting this innocent woman in danger and expecting her to perform feats that are beyond her training or expertise, that she has no ability to do just based on knowing her sister, also you can catch someone maybe. Like, it's a terrible plan.
Oh, absolutely.
But okay, so this plan is going on. First of all, her sister used to drink. This one does not. So she gets overly drunk. And it's like, oh, it's okay that she's drunk. She's doing things better. Even though, no, it's not. It's like a horrible concept, and it's played for horrible concepts a bunch of times. But then they pull another cliche, which is a fake killing. Because they shoot her. Before we even know she's a twin, for the record. She gets shot. And before we even know the original is dead. Like, again, the whole layout of this movie is just bothers me.
Weird.
So they shoot her, and it looks like she's dead.
Like there's
you see blood
and everything.
Yeah. We later find out that, and this drives me crazy, they pull yet another cliche. She was not shot and killed. She was shot, but the journal of her sister that she was carrying in her dress stopped over her heart, stopped the bullet. And then the detective put some hot sauce on her that she or he had stolen earlier and made it look like blood so she could continue. Because this entire time, not only has the detective brought her to the island, he's having her do the investigating. He's not doing it. Well, he's doing his own stuff. But he's having her go off and investigate as well. Which is, again...
He's there talking to the people while she's rummaging through someone's room.
Which, again, she is rummaging through the room of a potential murderer who has killed her sister and has every... it's so irresponsible. And again, I'm trying to be like, it's just a movie, whatever. But this whole, the journal stopped the bullet, and the detective doesn't go, oh my god, you almost got killed due to my irresponsibility. Like,
You're leaving the island right now.
Yeah, like, you're going to pretend to be dead, and we're going to get you out of here, and I'm going to solve this on... Nope, go investigate even more. While she's drunk, mind you. It's so incredibly frustrating and irresponsible, and I know it's supposed to just be a movie, but given that the first one didn't have to lean on any of these crutches remotely, while dealing with a person who was out of her depth and in a nest of vipers of nasty people, he's just incompetent. He's literally putting this woman's life in danger multiple times, and she does all the investigating. Like, he's just barely there. So...
Well, the one part I like about the movie was when he was, speculating what could happen in the future.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And then that's what the person actually does.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, that's better than my plan. I should do that. I liked that. Because I was just like, yeah.
Well, that's part of the whole...
He's an idiot, but he's at least smart enough to realize this guy's smarter than me. His plan's better than mine. I should do that.
Right. Well, so that's his character trait. Is he steals people's ideas.
Everybody else's, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's important, and we're about to get to that anyway. So the big twist is when she finds this letter. The sister finds this letter that will incriminate the criminal. I've spoiled so much. It's the rich guy. Surprise. And so she's found this letter that incriminates him, and the detective finally puts together, oh my god, I've been an idiot. Because this whole crime, the reason I don't get it is because it's just the dumbest possible thing. You killed your friend not with some massive amount of poison, you used pineapple juice that he's allergic to, which that I think you could pick up on. You switched the drinks, maybe that you could pick on. Probably clever. You did this, you did that, and you even stole the idea to murder the girl from me because I gave it to you when I said, hey, you've brought everyone here who wants to murder you on an island, And so, to be clear here, the detective at this point has put together that this guy likes to steal ideas from people and do them. The sister has the incriminating napkin. It's a napkin. That's what she has. She has the incriminating napkin piece of evidence that will...
It's supposed to be like a contract they both signed or
Well, no,
whatever.
it's the diagram of something with the right watermark on it. Yeah.
Well, no, it has the correct watermark from the hotel or
the bar. So it's the key piece of evidence in clearing her name and proving he's the murderer. And so he says, you didn't even get rid of the evidence. Why would you keep the evidence? Because, if he just burned that napkin, he would have been home free.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, while the girl is sitting there holding the incriminating evidence, getting closer and closer to the bad guy so that they can gloat about defeating him, he burns the napkin with a lighter because she gets too close. And that, right there, the main characters are acting like Disney cartoon villains. The whole monologuing before you actually kill the villain or kill the good guy rather than just killing the good guy, because it's the exact same thing in reverse, where the good guys are too busy monologuing and showing how smart they are while doing incredibly stupid stuff, to where they do yet another stupid thing. And then they go, well, yeah, we didn't see the napkin, blah, 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 blah. It looks like the villain's going to win. And I'm like, well, how are they going to stick this landing? And the answer is, in my opinion, they don't. Because throughout the entire movie, there's been a lot of pseudo-scientific nonsense. Like, he maybe invented a prevention for COVID, or maybe not, given who he is. Like, right in the beginning of the movie, they spray...
Well, I don't think he did. I think he stole that from somebody else.
Supposedly, but yeah, again, we're back to who knows. Well, but the dock doesn't work, even though he stole that from other people. Anyways. the ice dock.
Oh, the glass dock. Yeah, or ice. It was
yeah.
ice, wasn't it? You're right.
Yeah. So, he's got this hydrogen plan that he's going to use. He's made like this magical hydrogen crystal, and he's been basically blackmailing all of his friends to put it into production, because all the initial research says this stuff is horribly dangerous and hyper explosive, but he says it'll change power around the world. And it's the usual bad science in movies thing, which normally doesn't matter. I can look past, like, that's not how time travel works, or whatever arguments people have. But this one's pretty egregious because they make it a core part of the plot. So he's got this plan to distribute this stuff, and he runs his island on it. So it proves that it does actually power his entire island incredibly cleanly. It has the small downside of the fact that it can leak through the pipes, and thus now you have hydrogen in the air, and it should explode. Which makes no sense, because there's been lit fires everywhere. Oh, and there's the Mona Lisa. That's a whole other thing I'm not even going to get into. In the building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah! So, basically, the detective says, I can't do anything about this. And then says some coy line that's obviously like a hint about what she should do.
And he hands her the gumdrop he got earlier that is the hydrogen crystal or whatever.
Yeah. And the solution is to break everything and then blow up the entire building. And it's such a...
Including the Mona Lisa.
And thus burning down the Mona Lisa. So that, in the process, all of his friends turn on him and decide to do So the big line is, you'll lie for a lie, but you won't lie for the truth, or something like that, because they all lied to, get rich, but now they won't lie to put him in jail. Which I don't really love the message that sends, honestly, because, again, like, I feel like in mystery books, kind of the point is that you don't need to just lie and get 6 people to say, yep, they did it, because that's kind of the whole point of, like, what corrupt cops do.
I mean, is it even a lie? They literally saw the napkin.
They do up to a point, but so you won't tell the truth to stop a lie. But even then, no, they start lying about other things when they do it at the end. They're like, yeah, I did see him do this, and I did see him with that. And they start saying they saw him at places and doing things, which, to our knowledge, I don't believe they did. Maybe I misinterpreted that. I don't
know. That whole ending was horrible.
Yeah, because
as soon as that napkin went up in flame, that movie went from like a C to an F.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was just it. That was jumping the shark
in
the worst way possible. It should have ended with her, "I have the napkin.
Mm-hmm.
You're screwed." End movie.
I mean, if he had tried to burn it and the detective had realized, like, he just steals everyone's ideas and snatched it, or even if she had pulled it away because she'd figured it out, like, oh, you're going to steal someone else's idea again. That would have been a great way to end it.
Yeah.
But instead, another part they could have cut from the movie was this ending where she blows up the building, basically, which, by the way, should have probably killed a bunch of them, but whatever. Because now the Mona Lisa has been burnt, the actual Mona Lisa, and so that's a whole narrative thing I'm not even going to get into with him, which is kind of lame and tacked on. And so his power solution with this hydrogen crystal nonsense has blown up his island and destroyed the Mona Lisa, so he's going to be ruined, and now all of his buddies decide to turn on him and say, yeah, I saw him with the things, so he'll go to jail. And not only is this incredibly ham-fisted, unearned, requires so much suspension of disbelief from somebody who normally says, just go with it. It feels tonally messed up. I don't like the message it conveys, and the big thing for me is a complaint that I've seen about Star Trek. Because Star Trek, when it started out, all the way up, I'm not even going to say where, but the main point of Star Trek was not everything is solved with lasers and explosions and guns and violence. Like, sometimes we will have diplomacy and discourse and understanding, nuance. And a big complaint from the Star Trek fans is that all the new Star Trek is now making it guns and explosions and martial arts. Like, I watched the first episode of Picard and went, nope, not watching the rest of this because it doesn't understand what's cool about Star Trek because it decided to ham-fist in a murder martial arts scene at the end of the first episode and has characters acting in ways they never did, so clearly whoever wrote this
didn't care about the original.
Or they did, but, hey, like, they told me to write an action scene, I'm writing an action scene. So, likewise, this feels like, as far as mystery novels go, like the action movie of mystery stories. Like, oh, we don't outsmart the bad guy, we just blow up and break everything, and then, haha, he gets turned on. It's so inelegant and so ham-fisted. It has so many poor setups for it, so many cliches, so many bad writing tropes, and it's just such a letdown, especially when I thought, oh, thank God, Knives Out did really well, it was very well written, it was clever, it'll be nice to see maybe a small revival of the mystery genre, because the last movie I tried to watch that was in the mystery genre that was recent was Death on the Nile, because I didn't even watch Murder on the Orient Express's remake, just because I figured, it can't be that good, I like the original. And that opens with a 10-minute action scene in World War I to show how Hercule Poirot got his mustache. Which, maybe that's in the book, and I've never read it, but boy, that scene didn't need to exist, I can tell you that. And likewise, this is what that whole movie felt like. It was like, oh, well, people won't like if it's too much of a mystery, so we better have or they'll really like if we just show that you can violently win the day. And the idea that the detective suggested this to her, once again, endangering her life and then noping the hell out, was just so... I hate it on a philosophical and fundamental level. Like, I wanted something better and different. I feel like the message it conveys sucks. I feel like the way it conveys it sucks. And I really hope more mysteries don't do this. Because, I mean, look, you can tell an action mystery and all these other things. You can mix your genres. But given what tonally and plot-wise Knives Out was, Glass Onion was just an utter disappointment in every direction. Like I said, I would cut the scene where he explains what a glass onion is. I'd absolutely cut the ending. I'd cut a lot of the beginning because it's just dead time. And then the movie would be, oh, yeah, he's an idiot and I'm overthinking this. And that would be an okay film. Yeah. I still wouldn't have liked it as much, but I wouldn't like that there was a twin and that he's endangering her life. I wouldn't have her get shot. You don't even need her to get shot. There's no point in her getting shot, other than setting... Oh!
Well, it was to get people to walk away so she could go and check their rooms.
You could have written in 40 other reasons that don't involve a magic bullet-stopping journal.
I hated it, too.
Yeah,
it was stupid.
Oh.
Honestly, I know it's not even remotely close to being a sequel, but I feel like Bullet Train was a better sequel to Knives Out than Glass Onion was. It was an action mystery, and it was really
I don't know
good.
if I'd call it a mystery.
I mean, okay, it had mysterious elements.
It did, but
it had a lot of...
It doesn't have someone trying to solve a mystery. It has someone caught up in the middle of a mess.
And they eventually figure out what happens.
They more just get told. Like, they don't figure anything out, but yeah.
I loved Bullet Train.
No, Bullet Train is a better movie. I will straight say that. No question. I'm being pedantic here because I'm protective about my little mystery genre. And again, I totally respect a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. I can maybe even see why Alex likes the movie.
He's wrong. It's okay. I still love Alex.
Yeah, exactly. And I can even maybe see why people would enjoy it and like it. But I just thought it was so... such a disappointment.
I obviously didn't hate it as much as you did, because I do think if you make enough fixes and changes that it could be good. Like, I feel like the bare bones of this movie was good. And then someone came in and was like, okay, we need to make it longer, we need to add in more mystery, like, there needs to be a twin thing, and then we need a huge action-filled ending. And I just, no.
I don't know. Well, whatever. Everyone now, anyone who's bothered to sit through this now knows more about my opinions than anyone anywhere ever wanted to know. So thank you for that if you've sat through it. But, I mean,
I don't recommend it personally.
I really, really just... I watched the new Star Trek when it came out, the first of the new movies, where they kind of rebooted the series, and I enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people are like, but it's just more action movie. And to be fair, that movie has one of the worst openings of a movie I've ever seen. I was ready to hate that movie after the first 5 minutes. The opening is the most cliched, stupid, ridiculous thing ever. But maybe that's a throwback to the original Trek. I didn't watch the original series. I watched the Next Generation and onwards. Maybe that was just a choice. I don't know. But it recovered okay and was entertaining. But I can totally understand they just blew everything up and fought. And that's not really the original thing. And I definitely feel that way about Glass Onion, where it's like, if this is the way you want to take your mystery series, that's fine. Everyone's got their own choices. But personally, this is not at all what I was hoping for. And it's not, I think, what Knives Out was at all.
Oh gosh, no. Knives Out was spectacular. I think, spoilers for Knives Out, it was pretty obvious who the villain was, but they actually, at some points, maybe go, maybe it's not that person. Maybe it's somebody else. They did a really good job of fooling me. But in the end, I wasn't surprised with who the bad guy was.
Well, I thought it was interesting because it's this is the guy, right? But there was still some, question in the air.
Yeah.
Whereas, part of the thing is, Knives Out does a pretty good job of what most mystery stories try to do, which is everyone except the murderer in a mystery story is usually a decent person. And so it's a question, or usually they're decent people. Sometimes they're all horrible people, which I'll talk about in a moment. And so it's a question of which of these normal, innocent-looking people is actually a horrible murderer, There are stories where they're all horrible people, and it's, well, yeah, we're all horrible people, but I'm not the one who killed them. Wish I could have, but,
Yeah.
And that can be interesting, too. This tries to go that route, where they're all basically terrible people. Oh, I didn't even get into the subplot of the girlfriend, who they're like, oh, no, she's an okay person. She's just trying to get her career off the ground, and we bonded over the course of 5 minutes in this movie. The girlfriend.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. I just didn't care.
But yeah, they're just doing they're all terrible people, and any one of them could have killed the person because they're all terrible, and they all have motive, of course, because that's part of the mystery. But you don't feel like anyone... None of the characters are enjoyable or interesting. They really aren't. There's a huge opening that makes no sense. None of those characters are supposed to be enjoyable. The main detective is repugnant, in my opinion, in how he handles things. And the teacher girl is kind of the only one who's supposed to be, but becomes a dumb cliche of I'm drunk, but I'm still really good at this. And then becomes I'm going to break and blow everything up. It's so...
I mean, honestly,
and that plan isn't hers, it's suggested by him, and that bothers me so much.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But actually what gets me is the other people there, after that napkin was burned, they could have 100% been didn't see a napkin, but I did see her destroy everything in this place and set it on fire. She could have just gone to prison for that for the rest of her life, and her sister would have never been...
Oh, yeah, no, it makes no logical sense. The plan is terrible.
Yeah, and that they would have remained rich that way.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, no, they wouldn't have, because the only issue is because of the...
Oh, they're only making money because of his hydrogen thing?
Yeah, well, because the hydrogen thing would fail, and so he would fail, and blah, 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 blah.
I mean, how do we know... I feel like if they had worked together for half a minute, they could have found another reason to say why it blew up, and not because of the hydrogen thing. Just because she's psychotic and started destroying everything and set everything on fire. How could they prove in the end that it was one of those hydrogen crystal things that caused this?
There's little ways it could or couldn't have, but yeah, the whole thing doesn't make any damn sense. And then there's the stupid button that they keep putting throughout the film, the override that allows the Mona Lisa to get destroyed. That was part of the point, was he put in an override button, but again, that's
it wasn't covered by insurance if he did that or whatever.
Well, he was violating the deal, and yeah, again, it's dumb reason because of dumb reason because of dumb reason because of dumb reason. It's you could have done this so much more elegantly. I don't know. It's very, very hard for me to find any excitement for future stories in this, with this character, because it's bad. It was so bad. How much time do we have left?
Let me check 1 second. It looks like we have 16-ish minutes left.
Okay. I can go over Assault on Precinct 13 in 16 minutes, or would you like to save that, and I'll just continue?
No, we can go over Assault on Precinct 13.
You get angry when I shove movies you like into small time periods, so I wanted to be sure.
16 minutes isn't a small time period. 2 minutes, however, is, you butthead.
Love you too. So, Assault on Precinct 13. Basically, it's like...
The original.
Yeah, the original. John Carpenter, 70s. Think, air quotes, dystopian LA, not like hyper-future, but just like what they were afraid LA was going to turn into in the 70s, of like all this gang violence and guns on the streets stuff, where there's all these just murderous gangs, and then also some possibly corrupt cops, still unsure on that one, and a couple of random people. Basically, there's this precinct that's shutting down, and so a lieutenant is sent over to kind of like keep an eye on the precinct and just point everyone to the new precinct while it shuts down, and then someone basically antagonizes the gang, justifiably.
Oh, absolutely.
And they start assaulting the precinct, thus the name, and there's your movie.
It has one of the best musical tune isn't what I'm going for. Themes,
yeah.
So good.
I'd play it, but then we'd probably get copyright.
Oh, yeah, I would absolutely get in trouble. Don't do that. But if you just Google, like, Assault on Precinct 13 theme, I loved it. I thought it on its own, it raises tension. Just, like, the way the song goes makes you feel a little nervous, which is the point of the song. But the thing I didn't know when I watched this movie, however many years ago, is John Carpenter did it based off of Night of the Living Dead. So they're not zombies, they're gang members, but they absolutely kind of act like zombies.
Which was part of what made the movie weird to me at first, because I'm like, they're not acting like normal people. Is that a plot point? And it never really gets explained. Because there's a point where, at the beginning of the movie, to kind of kick it off, one of the gang members gets shot like 5 or 6 times. And he basically doesn't react. He never... None of the gang members, I think, ever speak.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And he gets shot 5 or 6 times. Oh, no, I think they speak very early on in the opening scene. But other than that...
when they did their blood ritual thing.
Yeah, he gets shot 5 or 6 times, and then he just falls over and dies. And I'm like, that was a stylistic choice. And, like, he doesn't talk at any other scene or any other scene. It's all just violence, violence, violence. And it was like, why are they doing this? What's going on? So when I read, like, oh, it was inspired by Night of the Living Dead, it's like, oh, it all makes sense now that, like, they're evoking the... Because, like, the whole thing, I was already like, yeah, it feels very much like a zombie film.
Yeah.
And then, that's the point.
It actually kind of made me think of one of the scenes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where the Principal Snyder was like, oh, yeah, don't worry, everybody, they're just high on PCP.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, okay, don't worry, the gang members, they're just high on PCP. You know, like, it's not normal, it's okay.
Yeah, it was very,
It was a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So, yeah, it's wacky, but it's very weird. Like, it's very 70s. The characters in it are so weird. Like, you've got basically the I'm too old for this, even though he's not, but the I'm too old for this vibe cop who's just like, I just want to get out of here alive, who's a good guy. You've got the guy who barely is in the movie because he kicks everything off because his daughter gets shot. And so he shoots the bad guy and then he runs to the place and he's catatonic for the rest of it. You've got female lead number 1 who is like... I can't think of what trope she exactly is, but she's like... I've seen this kind of character before, like the overly cool female character.
I was going to say unnecessarily badass.
Yeah, I was too, but I wasn't sure if you wanted me to say that. All right, so... It's
another word for donkey. If people complain about that, they're
yeah,
wrong.
So either way, she's a very unnecessary donkey. And, cause...
Bad donkey.
Yes, because she's... Like, it's just weird how incredibly not okay, but, like, how she copes with things. There's a scene which unfortunately you fell asleep while I was watching this with our friend Robert, where she, like, gives the escape, well, not the escaped, but the trapped convict a light. And that whole scene is just done in a style of like, what the heck? Where did you learn any of this? Why are you just whatever? It's weird. And so like, it's fine that it's weird. It's just, I have to convey that it's weird. Don't go in expecting like a normal movie, like, oh, this will be a cool action movie. It's going to feel odd. It was shot on a budget of $100,000. That was another big thing where like he was like, for $100,000, I'll get you a movie, but I get full creative control. And it shows.
I love it.
It was very... It's unique. You will not find many other movies like that. It's very, very unique. And it's fun, you know? Like, it's a bit dumb at times, but it's fun.
I can't disagree.
It's actually got some really cool scenes that unfortunately aren't really... they don't quite have payoffs on. Like, there's an early scene where the guy's driving to this new precinct, and every person who drives by is, like, looking in his window at him.
Yeah, they're all watching him. It is so eerie. It's amazing.
Unnerving, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's done in a way that, like, you can't tell if it's like, okay, is this a racial thing because he's black? Is this because they're afraid of him because he's a cop? Is this because, you know, it's just such a bad neighborhood? They don't know who they can trust. Like, there's a lot of really interesting scenes with, like, cars driving around and that. The start especially is very tense. The back half of the movie is wacky as hell.
It's action, action, action.
Is it action, action, action? There's a lot of downtime for action, action, action.
True.
And it's pretty weird, but like...
I have to admit, I have not watched the full movie in many, many, many years.
She tried.
I wanted to. It was getting late and I was exhausted. I'm having a much harder time lately staying up very late compared to when I used to, especially if I'm not playing like a video game. If I'm not sitting there doing something, I fall asleep very easily now.
Yeah. So I.
But the part of the movie I was awake for, I was still enjoying. I just couldn't keep my eyes open no matter what I did.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting, and I mean the part that. It's just so hard to talk about because it's just like you've seen this movie before, just never in this way, in this pacing, in this style. Like, it's all the setup where here's all the characters as we meet them, the various, like, heck, the warden who was driving around the convicted death penalty criminal. Like, I expected him to have more to do. Nope, he's gone. Okay. Not even, like, on-screen dead, just dead. Oh, yeah, the magic snipers or silencers.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, they have silent... Like, again, speaking, just whined about Glass Onion, where, like, oh, well, it's just a movie. This is absolutely one of those, because if you know anything about guns, silencers aren't magical. Whereas in this, they literally make no noise. Just glass breaks and things explode and you hear nothing.
Yep.
And,
it was awesome.
They've got silent... which is actually quite creepy. Because given the situation they were in, which is why it became a little weird they suddenly never used them again after the first half of the movie. I guess it implies they ran out of ammo. It really implies they want a zombie rush scene. So,
yeah.
It was a movie. I watched it.
I liked it.
Yeah, Liz fell asleep.
Okay, you can't just say that. It's not my fault. I'm blaming the MS for this one, you guys, okay? What?
I think it was a boring movie. No.
No.
I
literally have it on DVD. Fight me.
It has some pacing issues, I will say.
Maybe I'll just have to rewatch it.
It can definitely feel like, okay, what's going on? What's going to happen here? Why are we here? What are we doing? But yeah, it was worth. I like it especially if you're like interested in film or whatnot. I highly recommend it because again, it's not something you're going to see a lot of, and there's a lot of unique ways of doing things. It was very funny because we were watching the Blu-ray or the Criterion Collection or whatever because my friends are difficult, and for one scene they had to go like to the original footage because I guess all other kinds of footage were lost and they had to go back to like the original tapes. So the quality just tanks from like pretty good high def to like 1970s badly maintained film. Like not even how it was in the theaters, worse because it's been kept in a basement for 20 years or whatever when they found it.
Yeah, I missed that part.
Yeah. And it was just like, whoa, okay, we're doing this now. And that scene's weird, too, because she just gets shot and her arm doesn't work, but It's weird. The movie is weird. It's weird, but I recommend it. So there's my summary. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Unnecessarily bad donkey.
Yeah.
That is a very fun thing to say, not gonna lie.
Yep.
I like it. I like it.
Yep.
I want some more of it. Alright, well, I think we have made it to the end. So I hope you guys have enjoyed all of these Christmas ornaments. And I can promise you right now, the next video will be for Heavenly Beasts. You're welcome. And that is the end of Christmas Ornaments 2022. The end. Especially because for me, right now, it is Christmas Eve. So I finished all of them in time for Christmas. Woo! And then this entire video has 15 minutes and 48 minutes of footage. So that means all of the time it took to cut the mat board, to get the shape for all of these and stitch it around them, and just everything. They're all done. So I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I did 17 ornaments. Oh, nice. And they're all in one shot. Oh, they are, however, facing me. I'm sure no one can guess who, what my favorite person, what one they're getting. You'll never be able to guess. It's definitely not the really special one. No way. So I actually had the original 3 that I did, the first 3 that I finished, already wrapped because we celebrated Christmas on the 18th this year. And so I was like, oh, if Holga can make it, that'll be great. And I can give her these. And she wasn't able to make it. So I did still have them. So they're just going to go back into these in a minute. But yeah. Almost 16 hours to make them into ornaments. By the end, it was taking me, oh gosh, was it 28 to 32 minutes? Like, obviously this one took me the longest because it also has beads and a tassel. But, doing like the normal circles, I was getting pretty good at those. Because the first one I always forget, like, how did I do this before? And I just roll with it rather than look at previous videos. I really don't want to hear myself talking. And then I just sit here and talk too much. Sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys have been having a wonderful 2023 so far. When I looked through all of my videos and whatnot, I got that it would be March 2023 when this one goes live. So yeah. Oh, I will say, so this one, as you can see, way bigger. And that's because the outline that they provided for the stockings is this size. And it worked for this one. I had a ton of space around it. For these two, it was cutting it really close with the edges of the fabric. So I was like, I'm gonna snip them down just to make them look better. But what gets me, where's the cat on here? Right there. I might have done this last year. Look at the difference. Look how close their cat is to the edges all the way around. Not just in certain spots, the whole way around, compared to mine, which follows the size
they told you to cut it at. Just saying. Not gonna lie, I'm a terrible person. I actually prefer the smaller one. Yeah, my bad. I mean, they're both adorable either way, so it doesn't really matter. I really like how this one came out, and I really like the tassel. And let's see, so tomorrow's Christmas. This is for my brother-in-law, and his birthday is essentially the end of December. So this will no longer be in my videos, because I'll be able to give it to him. So long as I don't forget. Hopefully I won't. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. So I hope you enjoyed the really, really long video. And I hope you guys enjoyed the Christmas ornaments. I am glad to be done for the year. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next video.